Nothing Personal starts in 30 seconds. It's just business. This is Nothing Personal.
Here you go.
Tomorrow. That's the Nothing Personal word of the day for Friday, April 25th, 2025. But tomorrow is today for Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback who did not go to Green Bay for the draft, who said to himself, "Don't look at me like I'm my daddy's son, except I'm exactly my daddy's son. Take me and I will change your franchise. I will be the guy. If you don't want change, if you want to keep doing the same thing over and over again, then don't take me." We talked yesterday about rumors, innuendo, sources, anonymous. At the end of the day, Shedeur Sanders was not drafted in the entire first round. When a quarterback is drafted in the first round, you get a fifth year out of that quarterback. One of the reasons you've got teams trading up to the bottom of the first round if you're going to take a quarterback, because you get that fifth year option. If Shedeur Sanders gets drafted today by the Cleveland Browns, it will prove even more how interesting and silly the Cleveland Browns are. That's not I shouldn't use the word silly. Not silly. I'm going to say incompetent. No, I don't want to say that. They gave so much money to Myles Garrett. I don't want to say that. They signed Deshaun Watson. I'm going to say different. So Shedeur Sanders is going to sit around waiting to see whether he gets drafted in the second round, whether he doesn't. I think he will. But that wasn't even the biggest story of the draft yesterday. I'm going to talk about the trade that happened between the Browns and Jaguars. That may not even be the biggest story of the draft yesterday. For me, it's very simple. The biggest story of the draft is Green Bay, Wisconsin. 250,000 people descend on the great state of Wisconsin. It's an economic driver to a city. Twice the population of the city shows up, descends on the draft. They dress up in their team's colors. They're on TV. They're screaming like it matters. And I keep thinking to myself, Roger Goodell and his sneakers doing dapping and hugging. I don't know the word, Coca. Whatever the special handshakes are with the players, getting booed, getting hugged, smiling, doing interviews. It's theater. The NFL draft is straight content theater. 1-0 NFL. It's what we're trying to do in every sport to bring eyes, to bring people. Hey, fill up Madison Square Garden for the draft. That's amazing. Fill up Barclays. Take it around. Get 18,000 people. You're saying to yourself, what a success. MLB draft, forget about it. No one's heard of any of the players. Get 15 people. And you say, wow, this is awesome. That's the nature of MLB and the draft. These people are not going to help you this year, whereas you could argue that Travis Hunter is going to be a huge help to Mr. Khan come next season. 250,000 people, Coca. And they're all waiting to hear the same word. We've got to trade. Everyone gets all excited. Who's it going to be? What teams? The biggest trade of the day, there were a bunch of little trades. People switching positions. It's all good. But the biggest trade of the day had to be Cleveland. I can't imagine how you would say it's not. Cleveland said, we have an idea. Let's see if we can take advantage of Shad Khan. Let's see if we can find an opportunity here to make a deal so Shad can get the player he wants, Travis Hunter. Yes, Dion's other favorite Colorado player. Yes, this player, Travis Hunter, if you've never seen him, notwithstanding, he looked amazing. Did you see, Coca, the outfits? It's like red carpet fashion time. They're being dressed professionally, the players are. The NFL is putting on a show. Don't think of it as anything other than that. It is content for all the different channels who are live, including Metal Arc, 2 hours from Nashville, presented by Smirnoff. Everyone is activating around it. All of a sudden, Shad Khan says, I think we need this two-way player from Colorado. He plays wide receiver. He plays defensive back. He's above average in both, maybe a first-round pick on both sides of the ball. It seems likely that he could be Shohei Ohtani in football, except, of course, it's football. There is no chance that he can be Shohei. Wait a minute. He could be Shohei Ohtani, where you play both sides, pitch and hit, but then you get hurt, and then you only hit, and then you don't play the field, and you DH. How would that look in the National Football League? Here's what it would look like. A nickelback, third down, defensive back comes in on third down, automatic passing, although now it's a 4-down league. But in any case, 1 down per 4 downs, that would be good. Wide receiver, you bring him in. What do you think? Just again, passing, third down, fourth down and long, except fourth down and long, you're probably, yeah. So let's say he plays half the snaps. Does that make him the most unique football player of all time? If he does them both well, it's pretty much worth talking about. But think about this trade they did. In order for the Jaguars to go up and get the second pick in the draft from the Browns, it basically gave the Browns the Jaguars pick, which was the 5th pick. So the Jaguars just moved from 2 to 5. That's where the Jaguars moved. And for 5, they took Mason Graham, who in theory they wanted anyway, the defensive tackle. But it doesn't matter. In addition to moving from 2 to 5, as a reward for moving 2 to 5, the Cleveland Browns get the 36th overall pick, which is a second-round pick, a 4th-round pick, and then a first-round pick next year. All of that to move down 3 slots to take a player who you wanted to take anyway, in theory. The reason why, when you have a top pick in the draft and you have an opportunity to speak to the other 31 clubs, you are trying to figure out the level of desperation. So we're in our draft room in baseball, and we're doing the same thing, even though you can't really trade picks. But every time we're doing a trade, we're measuring desperation. The Jaguars, to me, now that the Commanders have improved themselves on the field, when Josh Harris took over for Dan Snyder, they led the league in desperation. But now they don't. I don't put Jerry Jones there because the guy never acts like he's desperate, so forget him. I don't even think John Mara is desperate with the Giants, but he should be because they've been bad for so long. But they've got some recent enough jewelry, so he doesn't make it to the top. Seahawks? Nah. The Allen estate? Not desperate. They could sell anytime they want. It's the Jaguars. Think about what they've done. Even the Browns, by the way. Side note, Coca. Want to know why the Browns aren't desperate? Even though they made the mistake with Deshaun Watson, they've begun to move past it, even though they're being sued by the city of Cleveland because they want to move outside of Cleveland to build this new stadium they're trying to build. They're not desperate. They re-signed Myles Garrett. They still have Watson making, I guess he's guaranteed like $80 million over the next couple of years. And the only thing that matters is that they are appearing to be competitive, that they are trying. The Jaguars, with Trevor Lawrence, have not been able, in theory, to accomplish anything yet in their franchise history. The darlings of the international play. They were meant to lead NFL into Europe. They were the team that was looked at. They are also attempting major stadium and real estate deals up in Jacksonville. It is so obvious to me that Shad Khan just went right up to his new, very young GM and said, get me Travis Hunter. And then the young GM said, hey, whatever you want. One other thing about the draft that is noticeable to me, the NFL is in a position where they are promoting their players. They're promoting the players who everybody's heard of because college football, people argue, is the second most popular sport behind the NFL. So every one of these players is well known. Everyone's talking for months and months and months about who's going to be drafted where. And what do you do with that product in order to monetize it to the maximum level? And so it doesn't matter that it's in Green Bay or Buffalo or Pittsburgh. People will travel anywhere for TV. The media personalities who are on site will travel anywhere. It's really not a big deal. You don't bring the draft anywhere where a Super Bowl would be because owners don't go to the draft. Owners stay in their draft room, which is why you can be in cold weather cities like Green Bay. Getting a couple players to come to the site of the draft is a good look so Roger Goodell can look young and hip and give them their hugs. But what the NFL continues to evolve year after year is what they do around the draft. And we're always looking as a league to create more ancillary content. Picture planets going around the sun. For the NFL at this moment, the draft is the sun. The planets who are rolling around it are all the different activations, both on-site, off-site, that are done, meaning in Green Bay, in New York, in Nashville, wherever in Miami, all the different things where there's sponsor activations, all the different ways that people interact with the NFL draft. It has become what to me and to Roger Goodell would agree is the second biggest date on the NFL calendar. It's bigger than opening day. It's bigger than the Pro Bowl, obviously. It's bigger than any of the playoff weeks. The NFL draft, to me, has become second only to the Super Bowl in terms of its importance on the calendar. And Roger Goodell has a thing about the calendar. He wants to own not just a day and a week and a month. He wants to own the year. And watching what he does to get the offseason, there's so much going on. We could have started the show with NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, some compelling contests in Major League Baseball. But the NFL draft is going to lead every show you watch today. They are going to talk, no matter the channel, they are going to talk about the Browns-Jaguars trade. They're going to talk about Shedeur Sanders and give you analysis about how they did against their mocks. We went 30 for 32 or 32 for 32, which seems crazy unless they have the information. We went 69 for 32. It doesn't matter because it's ours. And what happens when a broadcaster is able to get hours of content out of a subject, they're willing to pay for that. And so as an industry or as anybody who runs a business, you're trying to create inventory that is wanted. It's why you get extra playoff rounds. It's why the NFL wants to do an 18th game, which Roger Goodell talked about in his draft day interview with Greenberg. You want to find a way to get your partners to pay more to be your partner. That is the way you grow revenue. Shedeur Sanders must have been despondent, just despondent, watching his draft stock plummet. I was on a plane last night. I'm in Miami. If you're not watching this on the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel, I'm in Miami right now, covering for Dan today at 9 a.m. live on Dan's YouTube channel, here on our YouTube channel doing our show. I'm on the plane, and I'm watching the Knicks Pistons game on the live TV app of the plane. And I kept thinking to myself that I remember back when the Knicks and Pistons were playing in 1984. They had a first-round matchup. It was an incredible matchup that the Knicks were able to win in 5 games. Very few of you, hold on. As of April 1, 21.9% of you have a good recollection of that series where we won it in 5. The Knicks did, only to lose to Larry Bird's Celtics in 7 in round 2 that year. And all that was in my head is, where have these franchises gone? Detroit hadn't won a playoff game at home in God knows how long. I mean, God doesn't know, but Coca and I know. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. They haven't won a home playoff game, my guess is, in 15 years, maybe more. The Knicks have not been to an NBA Finals since 1999. And I'm watching the Knicks and the Pistons play, And I'm trying to get excited as though it is Bernard King, and Isaiah Thomas. And I'm watching Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson scored 31 points to help the Knicks win 118-116. If you watch that game live, the last 0.1 of a second took about 12 minutes. You know that the end of NBA games is just brutal. It was a back and forth game. Mostly Knicks had the lead. There'd be a run for the Pistons. The Knicks would hold them off. And the Knicks got home court advantage back after losing at home in game 2. And it occurred to me that the Knicks and Pistons both look at each other after a game like that, realize they could be in for a long series, but more importantly, as players and as front office, this is a bear, folks. When you're playing a game and you realize that you're having a competitive game with someone, but you know that you're competing just to have a chance to lose to teams that are better than you as you go through the playoffs, it's brutal. I have had many conversations about this exact topic with executives where we say how important it is to be in the moment, to win the series that's in front of you, to beat the opponent who's in front of you, not to worry about the starting pitcher tomorrow. This comes up during the regular season where you're facing an ace on Saturday and you say to yourself, we got to win Friday. It's our ace against their schlep. If we lose, all of a sudden we're going against their ace with our schlep tomorrow and we're going to lose 2 in a row. The brain does phenomenally interesting things to rationalize behavior or motivation going into a game. But one thing that we all acknowledge is that when you're playing a team the way the Knicks are playing the Pistons, and you're out looking at the Celtics, you're out looking at the Thunder, you're out looking at the Clippers, maybe even the Nuggets, it's a rough one because the Knicks and Pistons are playing for the right to not win. And I don't want to be negative. I don't want to be negative. What do you think? Any of these teams is going to beat the Thunder? The Thunder looked like they were going to lose last night to the Grizzlies. They were down up to 29 points. But, of course, they came back to win. Wasn't even close. John Morant got hurt, shockingly. Not shocked by that. He's hurt often. He's done. The Grizzlies are done. The Thunder are going to sweep. That is no question in my mind. The NBA is this game. Do you remember, Coca, the Patriots-Falcons Super Bowl, the 28-3 game, where the odds are they're never coming back, and they do and win. And there have been several comebacks like that in the NFL, but very few. I think Frank Reich was involved in one in a wild card weekend where his team was down big or was up big and came back to lose or came back to win. Comebacks in the NBA are just a Tuesday. One of the issues they have to deal with is when you're up 10, down 10, up 15, down 15, and you're in the first half, even in the third quarter of the game, it's not like, oh my God, we have to hope for a miracle. Because if you're the better team, NBA is a game of runs. It's just going to happen. And when I was watching the Grizzlies lose bucket by bucket, lose their lead, and I'm thinking about their mentality, and it's the white flag. There is nothing they can do about a better team like the Thunder. And so the excitement of the 27-point lead or 29-point lead, you don't really feel it when you're a team that's inferior. You're not saying to yourself, if you're the Grizzlies, if you are the new Taylor Jenkins, you're not saying to yourself, hey, we got this. All we got to do is finish this off. You're saying, it's a matter of time, and then we're screwed. That is clearly what is happening in Memphis. Let's talk for a minute about the NBA and something else they're doing, please. We gave you a couple days ago an interesting story about the NBA in Europe. I want to bring up to you again something that came out yesterday, and it's pretty telling. There was an article in Reuters, and there is already a league in Europe. It's called the Euroleague, not to be confused with Eurovision. And the CEO of Euroleague gave an interview talking about the possibility of a new league in Europe, which Adam Silver has been really, really clear about, that this is what he wants. He said it's not expansion at this moment, it's an actual league, a full 12-team league. So the commissioner of the Euroleague does this interview, and I want to just read to you part of his quote. He said the current structure of European basketball, that's what we're talking about. The current structure, which has his league. Please keep that in mind as you're listening to this. Quote, he fears another league would only complicate the picture. He's talking about basketball in Europe. He said, we can discuss, we can talk. There's many ways to partner and to improve. And here it goes. Get ready. Everyone sit down. Hold on to your shirt. Quote, but we don't need a new league. Am I the only one whose eyes popped out of his head to have a CEO say that? What he's saying is we don't need competition. Competition, that would be horrible. Our entire system in the United States is built on competition. We've got task forces who are there to tell us when there is anti-competitive action. We have actual entities who can have the power to subpoena, the power to indict, the power to quash things which lead to anti-competitive results. The reason why we focus so much on competition is that is the genesis of our power. If you feel no competition from anyone, what is your motivation to expand or to outperform or to allocate additional resources to your product? What is your motivation without expansion to do anything other than stand pat, which is the same thing as regress? Competition is everything to me. It is the root cause of so many capitalistic behaviors that are done for the betterment of our society, for the betterment of shareholders, for the betterment of product, for end users. All of it's based on competition. What this guy, and obviously when I say this guy, I'm talking about Paulius Monteunis, but it could be Monty Junis. It could be, I don't know. I didn't have time to look at the pronunciation of the name. I'm sorry. But he's been so comfortable in Europe because the NBA has been hands off. They've washed their hands of it, really. And now they're looking around saying we need more revenue. We need more streams of revenue. We need more opportunities to gain revenue. Where do we look? The NFL is doing it. Major League Baseball is doing it. The NBA tiptoes by doing exhibition games in Abu Dhabi and all the different stuff Adam Silver is doing. Regular season, exhibition, Mexico City, Europe, everywhere you go. No. The real way to get into a market is to be in that market on a permanent basis. Do you know how not to start a competitive restaurant? Just going to throw this out there for all of you restaurateurs, all of you foodies. Hey, let's pop up here for 2 weeks. That's a great idea. But what's the use of popping up somewhere for 2 weeks if you don't have a way to back it up with a brick and mortar restaurant where people can go 12 months a year? What are you popping up for? What this league does, along with the other leagues so far, is they pop up. They pop up internationally and play a game and then retreat back into the cocoon and the warmth of the USA. Then they pop up again in a different place and then retreat into their cocoon. That doesn't work. We've learned that what the NFL, MLB, and NBA is doing, it actually hasn't worked very well. It can't be a shock to you that Adam Silver's new plan is to not do a pop-up, but to do a permanent. Guess what's next? After Euroleague, after the NBA expands into Europe, and there's 2 leagues. Wait for it. Euroleague becomes an acquisition target of NBA Europe. What you do when you go into a market as a behemoth, as the alpha, as the big brother, you go in, you look around, and then you start eating things like Pac-Man eats cherries and dots. That is the business plan that companies have. You establish a stronghold, you build your brand, your core, you have revenue that flows and spits off profit, and you use that available cash to swipe up your competitors one at a time. And then it's a cycle. Then you've got one league operating, and then another league says, I think we should start a league here. This happens across all industries. People have the view that sports is different because you want it to be, because you're emotional about sports, you're emotional about wins and losses, you're emotional about players, you hate owners. The irony is you should hate the owner of your corner liquor store as much as you hate the owner of your sports team. Maybe more so because the margins in the liquor store are way higher than the margins for a sports team. Price of entry way lower. Likelihood of success likely lower too. But hey, you can't have everything. I don't know why you'd have hatred for anybody. All right, Coca. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to review a new show that I watched in full on a plane ride a few days ago. And then we've got a great So You Want to Talk to Samson that came from one of you. We'll talk about all that and more after the break. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It's a Friday, coming at you live from Miami, Meadowlark Media Studios here in Miami. Please, if you're on DraftKings Network, stay tuned for the Dan Le Batard Show after this show. If you're live on YouTube, switch over at 9 o'clock to Le Batard's YouTube channel. And if you're listening to this, thank you. Download, subscribe, tell your friends about it. It's awesome. Someone told me something, and I don't know why I listened. I don't love reading reviews before I watch something. Why would I do it? I don't watch the trailers really. I just word of mouth or a star who's in it who I'll watch no matter what. Someone told me that there's a show called North of North and that this show is like Schitt's Creek. Well, that's all I needed to hear. I'm going to watch North of North. Except it has nothing to do with Schitt's Creek other than it's Canada-centric, which I don't really view Schitt's Creek as that. North of North is about a community, very, very small community, that is north of the northest part of the world you've ever thought to be in. It's a community where they only showed it as light during spring, but you can bet your sweet bippers that if they filmed this during wintertime, there would be no sunlight whatsoever, like 23.6 hours of darkness in the dead of winter solstice. 30-minute episodes, 8 of them. I'm in. I was in, not because it had anything to do with Dan Levy and Eugene Levy or David Rose or no Annie Murphys, no Catherine O'Hara's, nobody like that. The acting was fine. It was fine. The story was fine, ordinary, about a woman who's married to a guy who's overpowering and she wants independence. So she asserts her independence in ways that involve drunkenness and doing things that are funny with other men and other people, all trying to be a daughter, all trying to deal with her ex-husband, who may or may not be her ex-husband. Of course, you've got the token American who comes into this crazy world where he doesn't belong, but maybe does belong. Maybe he's been there before. Maybe he hasn't. Maybe he's somebody's father. Maybe he's not. I'm in. I like learning about different cultures, different communities, and I felt closer to that. North of North. It's worth checking out. I actually would tell you the whole thing is under 4 hours, the whole first season, which makes it like barely an Oppenheimer. And you get a full series for that. I'm in. All right, Mr. Coca. Pay attention, Jason Stark. This one's for you.
You know what I want? I want to talk to Samson.
So you want to talk to Samson. Don't forget to get into my X at David P. Samson, or at least my Twitter. Don't forget to go on davidsamsonpodcast.com. Don't forget that we could try to expand the So You Want to Talk to Samsons at some point. So please bring in your questions, thoughts. You may make the show. David, do you listen to Starkville? The Padres manager said that he would like to see 2 first bases. Seriously? Question mark. Well, let me start by saying, thank you for the question. Let me start by telling you, I do listen to Starkville, and so should you. Jason Stark, Doug Glenville are doing a show as part of The Athletic, part of the Windup. They've been doing it for years. Jason Stark, the Hall of Famer. Read all of his stuff on The Athletic, which I know you do, because he's a friend of the show. And if you're a friend of the show, transitive property of time spent means you're going to give time to Jason. So let me give you the background of this issue. The background I assume that this question is referring to is what happened to Luis Arias. If you haven't seen the video, he did a drag bunt. He's running to first base. They're playing, it escapes me, but I want to say the Guardians, Coca. But there is this horrible collision, and Arias, basically, his head goes into the shoulder or chin of this player who was covering first base. Arias goes down, motionless, 11 minutes, game delayed, stretcher, neck stabilization, concussion protocol. All of that is happening. Obviously, we wish him to get better. We wish him the best. But it brought up this debate. And what is being referred to in this question, if you go look at video of the Arias issue, anytime that you've got a runner who is running hard to first base, forget the new rules which tell you what lane you can run in, because there are new rules to talk about that. Forget what out of the baseline would be. Just forget that. We teach our players you do not slide into first ever, ever. Sliding head first into first is slower than running through the bag. Established. Done. Do not slide into first. Hard stop. Great. So you're running into first base. We tell you to run hard to the back of the bag. So you step and you're running to the back of the bag. It's like in a race going past the finish line, because if your brain thinks that the finish line is closer, then the brain by definition will ease up. It will force your body to ease up, and you want to get to the finish line strong. You want to get to first base strong. And so we have the players focus on one step past first base. So they're running, and Arias gets to first base, and boom, there's a hit. There have been examples in college where they have tried what's called a 2-base system at first base. A 2-base system is one where you would have a regular first base that's in the field of play. If you can picture bases, all bases are in the field of play. But then at first base only, you'd have a sister first base plopped right next to the first base that is the regular first base. And that sister first base is a foul ball. You remember, if a ball hits a bag, it's fair definitionally. If you've got a base that is in foul territory and a ball hits that base, that's a foul ball. There are ways we could figure out all the different rules of different paths of where people would run. But the theory is that you have a first base that's twice the size, and the fielder can only be on one first base, and the runner can only run toward the other first base. It sounds delicious until you realize how ridiculous it is. If you tell a first baseman that all he has to do is touch either first base in order to get an out, he's going to touch the base that is closest to the throw that he's receiving from the infield. If it's a high throw, he's going to step back and use the foul second base. If it's a ground ball deep into the hole between first and second, there could be an opportunity for the first baseman to rotate to the second base to get closer to the fielder to take the easier throw. So many different things can happen where you would, as a defensive player, take advantage of a larger base. Several ways you can treat that. You can have the second base there, but it is active only for a runner from home plate. You could activate a second base only on a ground ball. You could activate it, this second base, only on balls hit to the left side of the infield, as an example. There are a bunch of different rules that could be done. But the reason why Shildt, who's the manager who was on this, the Padres manager who was on this show, the reason why he wants to see this and wants to see how it would play out while still thinking about all the different machinations and all the problems it could be, he's obviously trying and thinking about his player who just got hurt. Jason Stark knows this. You don't get anywhere. Now, it's a great get for a podcast, very important. But you're not going to get a true analysis of an idea when that idea is generated and based off a major problem you just had with one of your players. If you had asked me after Giancarlo got hit in the face, I would tell you that anyone who throws up and in should be thrown out of baseball. If you're going to tell me that Buster Posey is going to get hurt by Scott Cousins, and then there's going to be a complete change into how the catcher can block the plate, and that change is spearheaded by San Francisco. If you tell me those things, I'm going to say, I get it, because I tend to care in the moment about that which hurt me in the moment. And that's not unique to sports. I wasn't involved with lung cancer until my sister got it. You don't get involved. I wasn't involved with Parkinson's till my best friend, 1, 2, 3, Brett got it. People tend to get emotional involved in things that impact them. The problem with that is you're not actually focused on where in the chain of issues your cause is. Where in level of importance is your cause? Because to you, it becomes the most important thing. I've got a child with cancer. I don't, thank God, but then I've got to work on pediatric oncology. I've got a spouse with Parkinson's. I've got to work on a cure for Parkinson's. Above all else, we all act in our self-interest, whether we're the ones who are sick or not, whether we're close to those who are sick, whether we're trying to achieve something in a baseball or business organization. We all act in our self-interest. And what people try to do consistently is to get people to act not 100% in self-interest, but maybe 50-50. There could be a world where in 50-50 things are better in that regard. Here's the thing, though. You can't legislate selfishness out of your brain. There'll be plenty of people who tell you that they're selfless and that they're thinking about the group. They're not thinking about how this decision would impact them, and they're all full of it. Why do you think that one of the great manipulations that exists is why do you think that ambulance chase lawyers are hanging out in hospital waiting rooms or have the police scanner for when there's accidents? Because why would you fish in waters without fish? You'd more likely go to a place that's stocked with fish, not even naturally, and then still bring a stick of dynamite. And then ignore why it is that you feel the need to have that relationship with the fish and with the location that you're fishing. Of course, it makes sense that Shildt is going to talk to you about extra bases, large bases, not wanting to see what happened to his player again. I got an idea. I'm going to give you a straight wait to see. Wait to see when I tell you something's going to happen. If it does, fine. If it doesn't, fine. There will be no double first base next year. Wait to see. All right, let's go to our nothing personal pick of the day. I can't stand prosperity, Coca. It just doesn't work for me. For whatever reason, prosperity, I like run from it. I win 2 games. I go to above 500. You tell me, Samson, you're getting cocky. No reason for 2 picks. I'm like, no, I got this. Let me take my hotness out for a ride. I was 11 under. Now I'm back in business. I forgot to account for the fact that there could be a real stinker put up by the Nuggets. I mean, what are the odds, though, of that happening? I mean, they weren't good at all. Did you watch that game, Coca? You had to have NBA TV to do it, but did you watch it? Well, the final score is 117-83. The Nuggets lost by 80 by, excuse me. This can't be right. Sorry. They lost by 34 points. Yeah, we lost that pick of the day. I'm annoyed at Corbin Burns. I'm annoyed. I need the Diamondbacks to win when he pitches. I can't have them lose in 10 innings. It screws up my pick of the day. So we had Burns and the Diamondbacks over the Rays, lost it. We had the Nuggets plus 5.5 versus the Clippers, lost it. We're back to under 500. And I guess I feel more comfortable now because I guess the reality is that I'm back to familiar surroundings. All right, I'm going to give you a pick for tonight, and then a pick for tomorrow, and then a pick for Sunday. 3 weekend picks, because ignore everything I just said. I'm going to get to 2 games over 500 with a sweep this weekend. Likely story. Let's talk about a game tonight that interests me. You've got Zach Gallen going against Chris Sale and the Braves. Zach Gallen, you may remember him as a pitcher who was traded to the Marlins for Ozuna. You may remember him as a pitcher who was traded by the Marlins to the Diamondbacks for Jazz. You may remember Zach Gallen as someone who has been outperforming and fantastic, except this year, not much. 5 starts, a 5.6 ERA, one of the worst qualified starters there is. Remember our speech from yesterday, what it takes to be a qualified starter, 1 inning pitch per game played. He's given up home runs. He doesn't look sharp. His stuff looks subpar. But he's going against the Cy Young winner, Chris Sale. Chris frickin' Sale of the Braves, who has an ERA of 6.17. The damn Massachusetts area code. You never want to see it. I was more of a Florida guy. Give me 3.05. If you got to give me Wisconsin, you give me 4.14. Don't you dare touch California. I'm fine with Illinois, 3.12. Sort of. I'm not good with Boston. I'm really good with Pennsylvania. Chris Sale is a 6.17 after 5 starts. If he were able to qualify, he's worse than Zach Gallen. He's given up home runs. Did any of you think that Chris Sale, did any of you vote for the possibility that Chris Sale was going to have the opportunity to repeat as Cy Young winner? Forget about it. The bigger concern here is Zach Gallen and whether or not this is the Zach Gallen who we are going to see. The Zach Gallen who we were only too happy to have traded away. But still, Zach Gallen at plus 100, I got to take that. I'm going for the Diamondbacks again. I'm trying you again. I am trying, Derek. I want you to make the playoffs, if not win the division. How much more can I tell you? I guess I could pick against you. You may like that better. We're taking the Diamondbacks over the Braves tonight. Let's talk about Saturday's game. April 25th is the date today. Tomorrow's April 26th. It's too early to panic about crappy signings. It's getting there, though. We talked to you about when it's early, when it's not. And May gets to the point where it's decision time, how your season's doing, how players are doing. Lest you think that there would not be a team to hold the bag on an underperforming veteran player. If you sign a veteran player, you are likely that you will be the one holding the I don't pitch well or hit well anymore bag. Holding the Father Time 1 bag. Charlie Morton signed a 1-year deal with the Orioles, and this was their plan. Hey, he's been way above average. 1 more year. 1 more year. Players are not like underwear drawers. In an underwear drawer, you can always fit another pair. It's like fitting another pair of socks in a sock drawer. You got it. No matter how crowded it is, trust me, it is the weirdest thing. It's not even physics. But there is something about an underwear and sock drawer that there's always room. Have you ever gotten to the point when you're packing a suitcase where you think that you can get one more thing in, and then it's that one thing that just puts you over the top and the damn thing won't close, and there's nothing you can do? You sit on it, you try stepping on it, you do everything you can, and there's just a space like an inch between the top and bottom zipper, and you're like, dude, I finally hit my limit. You take out the sneaker, the one thing, the one purse, the one shirt, and then you can sit on it and get it closed. Charlie Morton is the suitcase. You get the feeling you're going to get one more thing out of it, and then you realize you can't. You can get the thing closed, but then it doesn't zip. You can get it zip, but then the zipper breaks. I was always petrified of being the guy who was last seen holding a player, signing a player late. It used to drive me crazy because sometimes you can hit on that and you can fit it in the suitcase, and other times you're just done. Charlie Morton is done. Not sure what the Orioles are going to do. I have an idea. They're going to have to take him out of the rotation. So he's pitching on Saturday. We're obviously taking the Tigers over the Orioles on Saturday as our Saturday pick. And I've got a suggestion for the Orioles. Remove him from your rotation when he loses again this weekend. He's got an ERA that I think is in 4 digits. I think it's like a 10, like a 10.40. Good buddy. Sunday's game. Can't wait for it. Game 3 of the Pistons and the Knicks. Game 3s matter. Game 3s are my most important games of a series. Game 3, when you are 1-1, you want to win game 3 the way the Knicks just did. You want to take a 2-1 lead. And I would argue to you that it's the most important game of any 3, 5, or 7 game series. And then I would say to you that when you win game 3, game 4 becomes the most important. This is me giving you expert analysis of how you're going to hear people talk about playoff series, where they talk about every game at, hey, you got to win game 1. The winner of game 1 wins 76.8% of the time. When you're down one game and you win game 2, you're going to win 82.4% of the time. When you're up 2-1 in a 7-game series, the winner of game 4 wins the series 92.6% of the time. When you're tied at 2 in a 5-game series, the winner of game 5 will win the series 100% of the time. There are more stats that are thrown at you. I love it. The Knicks are on the road. Winning the game that they just won brings them back to home court advantage. They can afford to lose game 4, and they're still tied up at 2, which is where they should be, going into a home game 5 on Tuesday, which becomes game 1 of a 2 out of 3, which becomes win game 5 in a 2-2 series in a 7-game series, and you've got a 69.8% chance of winning. All of that's happening right now. The Pistons are favored by 1.5 over the Knicks in game 4. If you watched it, the chippy game that it was, the Pistons are going to prevail. We are taking the Pistons in that Sunday game. They're only giving 1.5 to the Knicks. Don't be scared. Is it possible Karl Anthony Towns will have the type of aggressive first half that he had in last night's game? Yeah. Is it possible that Brunson will continue to be Brunson, shooting approximately 9 for 21, but crushing you in clutch time? Is it possible that Schroeder can have another good game the way he had yesterday? All of it's possible. The reason why I'm taking the Pistons, purely selfish. I have an opportunity to go to game 5 on Tuesday night in New York, and I want to go to a series that's tied at 2 because game 5 becomes so pivotal. Clinching a first-round series up 3-1, not that exciting, because what have you won? The right to go to the second round to play the Celtics or Magic? Give me a game 5 in a tied series where you have a chance, if you lose that game at home, that it will be despondency central. Or if you win that, you're like, phew, we've got this series. So I'm rooting for what would make me have the best time Tuesday night. And it's also my pick of the day. What a week, Coca. Did we do a wait to see today? I can't even remember. I wanted to do a wait to see. I think we did. We did. Okay, good. I have a couple others here on the Orioles, which I'm going to hold off for, Coke, if you don't mind. I think that makes sense. because when it comes with Brandon Hyde getting fired, it's not a wait to see quite yet. Well, everybody pay attention. In the last 30 seconds before the weekend, though, you're going to go watch Le Batard at 9 o'clock. Let's pay attention to where Shedeur Sanders gets drafted, because he's going to get drafted today. And God, will it be funny if he goes to the Browns after the Browns have spent so much time telling you how good they are running their team, and they would have given up all of this to just take him in the second round. I think that that's going to be outstanding to watch. And if he doesn't go to the Browns, then what? Are the Steelers going to take him now in the second round instead of the first round? That makes no sense. Is anyone paying attention? We'll find out. Meanwhile, have a safe weekend. We'll be back Monday on Nothing Personal, and I'll see you on Dan's show in just a couple moments. It's just business. This is Nothing Personal.